What up, y'all? It's Coffee back at it. And Cam Newton just did Shaq's podcast, and Aaron Hernandez came up. As a lot of people just think of Cam Newton, right? And they forget prior to Auburn, Cam Newton was a part of that Florida Gators team. You know what I mean? He was mostly riding the pine, though. And this was portrayed in the Hulu Aaron Hernandez series. Hit the comments below and let me know if you watched that series. There was some appearances by Cam Newton, obviously someone, an actor, portraying his part. But it was very limited what we saw from him. You know, Hernandez at times early on was frustrated. You know, that was something that they tried to highlight a lot, that he was someone that had to mature and grow and be able to be coachable, so to speak, quote unquote. And Cam Newton and him in the series kind of like spoke to each other, aired out their frustrations about not getting playing time and not knowing if they were fitting in and stuff like that. And then they showed Cam Newton's character get arrested stealing a laptop. I never knew of that. You know, that's the way it was portrayed in the movie, or I'm sorry, the series. I had no clue about that they're saying Killer Cam stole a laptop. Police come to the door and Hernandez just opened it up. Cam Newton threw it out the window, the laptop, and I don't know, he lost his aid or whatever. I didn't know it went down like that, but I do remember when he was tearing it up with Auburn, which was crazy. If you guys remember the way it went down, like during that year, the big stories quarterback wise, if I remember, were like Locker and Luck, and or no, Luck went next year in the draft, but like Cam Newton wasn't really known like that, except for like the super sports fans, you know what I'm saying? But on a mainstream level, he was kind of like unknown, was doing his thing with Auburn, ended up winning the SEC, the national championship, the Heisman, and then going #1 overall in the draft that year. I remember it oh so well as a Bills fan. The Bills took CJ Spiller with the #6 pick, but a lot of people had us taking Cam Newton, and obviously Carolina took him #1 overall. But prior to all that, he was sitting behind Tim Tebow, riding the pine, man, and you know, he left, had to go. I guess according to the series, they're saying he stole a laptop. I don't know the accuracy of all that. Comment if you guys remember seeing it. Again, your thoughts on the Hulu series, all that. But he had to go like a year to a junior college before Auburn reached out and, you know, gave him a scholarship, then finished out his college career with that amazing final season before going #1 in the draft. But Cam on the Shaq podcast ends up talking about Hernandez, and you see it hitting the headlines everywhere. Former NFL legend Cam Newton makes honest admission about Aaron Hernandez. Cam Newton, the Carolina Panthers legendary quarterback, recently opened up about his relationship with the late Aaron Hernandez before the NFL. And he went on he had a lot to say, actually.
I knew the 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old Aaron Hernandez. On my soul, on my firstborn, there was only one person from my University of Florida roster that ever checked in and checked up on me. It was Aaron Hernandez. So that tells you how our relationship was and the amount of care that we had for each other. You know, this person was the person who was the jokester. He was a fun-loving kid, you know, and he loved hard. You know what I'm saying? He was the guy who was a loner. You know, he suffered from things that we know now as trauma with losing his father. You know what I'm saying? He was extremely close with his brother. He was extremely close with his aunt. And he was extremely close to that whole 2007 early recruiting class. We had myself, Aaron Hernandez, the Pouncey twins, Joe Hayden. People don't remember what you did for them more than they will remember how you made them feel. For me, I knew how Aaron Hernandez made me feel as a friend, as a teammate, and as a person who just had a genuine heart and that just wanted to make it to the league.
So very positive things to say about Hernandez. And after those events all played out. Like, obviously, you know, first he was arrested. We found out stuff that happened when he was in college, being allegedly involved in some other shooting incidents and stuff like that. And we saw him. It all seemed to play out so quickly. Him going to court, being convicted, and then it was so wild because Jose Baez, the attorney that represented Casey Anthony, who was so guilty and freed her, represented Aaron Hernandez in a second trial, a shooting, which he beat that case. And that's kind of where the series, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, so click off if you have made it this far in the video. That's kind of where the series and everyone IRL, I think, is like kind of a bit lost exactly what happened with Hernandez, because people were saying he was upbeat, he was ready to appeal the first conviction. Jose Baez was like, yo, you didn't have me, I freed Casey Anthony, according to the Hulu series. Again, we don't know how accurate all that is, you know, but he, from everyone, was saying this just don't make sense that he did what he did. You know what I mean? He was ready to appeal. He was thinking about he could be free and play in the NFL again. And then next thing we know, he hangs it up. No joke intended. No pun intended. But he literally hung it up for good. And I don't know. There was that whole ruling about, because there was an appeal in, if he was considered guilty or not, if his girlfriend, that was what complicated things as well, that they were never legally married, if she could get the money that the Patriots were trying to take back from the contract, some money that was or wasn't guaranteed, or signing bonuses. I forget the specifics of it all. And I think in the end, she didn't get the money. I don't know. You know, it was a long process, and that process was like being appealed and everything like that. But despite everything that happened, Newton's words painted a picture of a complex and deeply personal connection, one that left a lasting impression long after their time together on the field. Before the tragedy unfolded, those who knew Aaron Hernandez saw a different side of him. That was the case for Newton, whose remarks about the former tight end painted a picture far removed from the one the public remembers. And again, this is something that, like, I've seen anyone who knew him or who had just been locked up with him when he took his own life, as that seems exactly what happened. And they were shocked, and people were shocked when it came to him catching all these cases, from Gronk to everyone. And here we hear Cam Newton, someone who was with him in college, being like, yo, this ain't the guy that I knew. He says, quote, Hernandez showed me something very different. He loved hard. He was a guy who kept to himself. He went through things we now recognize as trauma, like losing his father. He was extremely close to his brother, his aunt, and the entire 07 recruiting class. We were all together alongside the Pouncey twins, Joe Hayden. And Newton also emphasized Hernandez's impact both on the field and in the lives of those around him. Quote, people don't remember what you did for them as much as they remember how you made them feel. I know how Aaron Hernandez made me feel as a friend, a teammate, and a person. And again, it's like, still to this day, it's so shocking, like almost like he was living a double life. And Cam Newton spoke there about trauma. There's things with mental health expanding and becoming more recognized by people. Like there was a lot of stuff back in the day that people just kept to themselves. You know what I mean? Whether they thought seeking help made them soft, or certain things they just couldn't bear to speak on to another person. They couldn't face it. And we now know that stuff truly can eat you from the inside out. Pause, right? Like it's just terrible. And again, I don't know exactly how accurate that Hulu series is, but losing his father definitely seemed to play everlasting on his life. And some other things that happened to him growing up, from some sick, evil, twisted, fucked up family member, seemed to mess him up deeply and hinder him throughout his life. Like, as far as who he was or is, he seemed to battle with that. Again, for those that watch the Hulu series or not, just your thoughts in general, there's a scene where Jose Baez, a part of his legal counsel, was a gay dude who got this whole piece of evidence thrown out where they were going to have some guy come in that allegedly had some kind of GAY rainbow relationship with Hernandez, and Hernandez was tripping and flipping, again according to the show, but the co-counsel dude was GAY, and they were the prosecution was trying to put it out there as if him being a closeted GAY person had him flucked up to where he had this hate within him, and it had something to do with him allegedly committing these crimes. And the co-counsel was like, hey, this is a ridiculous narrative. This should not see a courtroom. We object to this. We want to suppress this. And the guy basically said, as that attorney, again, Baez's co-counsel, being an openly GAY person, said, hey, I'll have every group that I'm associated with protesting this, and we'll be right outside the courtroom. Everyone protesting, and the court kicked this guy's testimony, said no, he can't be a part of these legal proceedings. Your motion to suppress this evidence is successful. And there's a scene, once again, I got to keep saying I don't know if it's all accurate or not, but Hernandez thanked that counsel, that lawyer, and said, like, oh, my bad, because he had used some derogatory words towards GAY people prior to that, and said to him, hey, I didn't know that you're like that. I'm sorry. And the guy was like, no, it's cool or whatever. I'm your lawyer. Don't worry about it. And then he said, like, how did you get like that? Did someone do something to you? And the guy was like, no. Basically, that's not the same thing or something, he was telling Hernandez. And at the end of the day, if that is accurate, if that is based on his discussions, but that would be like, that's what I mean. That's what's so wild with a lot of these series that play out events and portray different stories. I don't know the room that they have to play. It's a very broad area when shows say this is inspired and based on true events, but it may not be exactly what it all was. This is a dramatized, scripted show. I mean, could there be some possible way that the attorney, what they spoke about would be privileged conversation, right? Attorney-client privilege. So it seems like that can't be what it is, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, there was a lot of rumors about Aaron Hernandez, and I don't know if any of that is indeed true about him having an uncle who was a weirdo. And these sick creeps, we talk about them so much. I call them wicked demons, just evil demons who hurt innocent kids and stuff like that. If that is indeed what happened to Aaron Hernandez, he carried that with him throughout his life, and just, it made him question his own identity and stuff like that. And when you see everyone speaking about him, and I believe all these people from Cam Newton to Gronk to friends to just people who knew Aaron Hernandez, being like this sounds like a whole nother person. So often, a lot of people who carry demons around with them, not those kind of sick demons that I'm talking about, but things that they battle, trauma and just different stuff from within their life. It often can have you almost, tripping and flipping, and it's just flucked up, you know what I mean? But it's just so wild as we continue to talk about Cam Newton reacting to Hernandez. Like, everyone seems to speak of him from this way, like this isn't the person that we knew. And once again, what do you say? People don't remember what you did for them as much as they remember how you made them feel. I know how Aaron Hernandez made me feel as a friend, a teammate, and a person. Aaron Hernandez had a promising but short-lived NFL career, spending 3 seasons with the New England Patriots before his legal troubles led to his downfall. Here's his career stats, man. 38 games played, 29 started, 175 receptions, 1,956 receiving yards, just under the 2,000-yard mark, 18 receiving touchdowns, 11.2 yards per reception, 9 rushing attempts, 97 yards rushing, no rushing touchdowns. And he had just signed that big extension, man, because if you recall, with the collective bargaining agreement and everything like that, the lockout, I think, was back in 2010 or 11. The way that he slipped in the draft hurt his payday in a big way. You know what I mean? He didn't get the kind of money. That's the way it goes. He went super far in the draft, where a lot of people had him pegged as the best overall tight end. His off the field and psychological issues, and if he was coachable or not, was something that popped up in the recruitment process for many teams. They were like, this guy's trouble, this guy's problems. But again, another thing that they showed in the series, when Belichick and Robert Kraft talked about taking this other tight end, and man, I could see this whole offense, a 2 tight end offense. We can do things that's never been seen before, with an offense. Look at what a bargain we're going to be getting for in the draft. If it don't work out, we let him go. And what's so crazy is it seemed that he had matured and become a better player and got that extension, and it had worked out. But all along, he was living a double life in so many ways, man. But I don't know. Jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts about it all. Let me know if you've seen the series. Let me know if you listened to Killer Cam on the Shaq podcast talk about his time with Hernandez. And if you remember, that Cam was indeed a Florida Gator. And just everything. Let's talk about it in the comments. Stay tuned for updates. It's Coffee. And I'm up out of here, you guys. Peace.